As it is rightly quoted, a genuine leader is not a searcher for consensus, but a molder for consensus. We feel delighted to extend a warm welcome to one such inspiring leader. It's none other than Mr. Pradyut Bordoloi, an Indian politician from the state of Assam, currently serving as a member of parliament for Nagoyan constituency. Sir is an alum of JNU New Delhi, from where he completed his MA in social science. Moreover, he also pursued MPhil in international studies from JNU itself.
He started his political journey as the Minister for Power, Industries and Commerce, Public Enterprises, Assam. He was a member of Legislative Assembly for Margherita. He was also the spokesperson of the state government in Tarun Gogoi's government until 2016. He was the Minister of State for Home Affairs and later promoted as Minister of State with independent charge for environment and forest. His varied interest lies in wildlife, ecology, conservation, and participatory forest management. Additionally, drama and music holds a great position in his life.
In today's session, Sir would give us insights on the tremendous socioeconomic cost of imposing a single time zone on all of India. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to you, Mr. Pradyut Bordoloi. Over to you, sir.
Hello, everybody. I hope you guys are keeping safe. You are taking good care of your family and the loved ones, because it seems we are in the midst of a crisis today, crisis situation in the country. The COVID situation, COVID has struck us with a vengeance, it seems. And I really wish that, the members of my tribe, especially those who are responsible, who are holding offices, who are in the power, they behave more responsibly and really try very hard with the association of all stakeholders to contain this situation. Actually, I know that situation is such a grim that at the moment, to talk about any other issue actually looks little odd. But then today, having said that, I would like to highlight another situation in our country, which is actually not very tangible, but works like an invisible enemy. That is what I feel. I would like to say that we are trapped in a time zone that makes neither common sense nor it makes any social or economic sense. Actually, I would like to elaborate. As you know, India is a vast country. It stretches 3,000 kilometers from the easternmost point of the country to the westernmost point. And it covers about spanning roughly 30 degrees in the longitude, creating a huge time difference. From one part to another part of the country, it's about 2 hours, 9 minutes. For example, I just want to give you an example. This morning on the 19th of April, Vijayanagar is located in the Changlang district of eastern Arunachal Pradesh, located in the easternmost part of Indian map. At Vijayanagar this morning, sun rose exactly at 4:24 a.m. 4:24 a.m. in the morning, whereas Bhuj, in the westernmost part of India, Bhuj is the capital and district headquarters of the Bhuj district of Gujarat. Sun rose there at exactly at 6:30 a.m. So there's a time difference of roughly 2 hours, 6 minutes. So you would understand the situation. India is a large country, and by being governed by a single time zone, there has been a huge imbalance in terms of utilization of the daylight hours, productivity, and the dark hours. And that is the point that I'm trying to drive. And because of this imbalance of having a single time zone in the entire stretch of the country, resulting into colossal loss in all spheres, particularly more so in the northeastern region. See, we all know that Indian Standard Time has been calculated on its mean longitude, that is 82.5 degree east, roughly, and which is 5.5 hours ahead of the GMT, Greenwich Mean Time, or UTC. But then we all know that the mean longitude, this time standard has given advantage. If you can see, the map that I actually wanted to show you, the map, when the mean longitude is 82.5 degree east. If you notice, the western side of the mean longitude, you can have a look that the western side of this mean longitude of 82.5 degree east, people residing in the west get to utilize more daylight, and they utilize the more daylight for various developmental activities. If you can see, all the developed states of the country, except for probably Jammu and Kashmir for the other region, but then Punjab, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Western Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, down Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, they are all located on the western side of this mean longitude of 82.5 degree east, whereas the people, the states, which are basically Bimaru states, Bihar or Jharkhand or West Bengal or Odisha, or more particularly the northeastern states. Here, having situated in the far east, northeast region west, 2 to 3 hours of daylight every day, either by oversleeping or idling, ends up being the least developed and least productive state. I would like to quote the Chief Minister of Arunachal Pradesh, Mr. Pema Khandu. He very recently gave an interview to the Hindustan Times. He said that we get up as early as 4 a.m. in the morning. Several daylight hours are wasted as government offices open only at 10 a.m. and close at 4 p.m. Now, close at 4 p.m. means what? By the time 4 p.m., it's already dark. It's already dark in Arunachal Pradesh. So you can see the enormity of the situation, that we actually suffer very severely by being in the eastern part of the country, on the east of the mean longitude of 82.5 degree east. There are many things that we suffer in the eastern part of the country. There are unproductive tendencies because it has been built up like this. There has been a permanent delay of 2 hours in all the routine activities. There was a survey, this survey was carried out in 2015 in the northeastern states, that 50% of the office goers reach office late by an hour in the northeastern states, including Assam. 35% leave office early by an hour, and 70% office goers wake up minimum 2 hours after the sunrise. So you can understand that all these hours, because sun rises between 4 to 5 in the entire part of the northeastern states, and then people wake up early, but they start their day, they start their productive day very late. As a result, very unproductive tendencies are actually crippling in a way the northeastern region. Similarly, there has been more alienation because of this single time zone. Many votaries of single time zone may say that the single time zone would foster unity all across the country, but that is not so, because in the northeastern states, IST, instead of fostering unity, is causing more alienation, because they perceive the Indian Standard Time as a Delhi imposed standardized time, and they take it very easy, because people get up early and either they oversleep, or they do nothing, or they do all kinds of other activities other than productive works. And by the time they reach offices, it's already 2 hours late. So, and then probably that promotes more than national unity. That probably, gives or promotes a centrifugal tendency in the northeastern states. And this, because of this single time zone, there are also a very perceptible biological, disturbed biological and circadian cycle. Because I want to give you one example that people do oversleep there, because they usually wake up minimum 2 hours after the sunrise, and then breakfast after minimum 4 hours of the daylight, and then start up their productive hour at the middle of the day, say at about noon, because 2 hours, they are advanced by 2 hours, and lunch at 3 to 4 hours after the noon, and dinner at 5 to 6 hours after the sunset, and sleep after midnight every day. So you can see the cycle. And similarly, because of this wastage of daylight hours, by having the single time zone, there are minimized sports and outdoor activities. There are inherent capacity of the people. There are certain ethnic groups in the northeastern region who have this inherent ability to take up sports activities. But unfortunately, because of the single time zone, probably all these sports activities and very sustained outdoor activities are minimal there. Similarly, it causes wastage of power in a massive manner, because every part of Northeast, they burn extra electricity of 2 hours in comparison to other parts of the country. There was a study in the northern states that because of this 2 hours extra burning of electricity, and much of it again is government subsidized. I just want to tell you that the study reveals that in the northern states, 1 year, because of extra burning of electricity at the rate of 6 units for extra 2 hours, only in the households of the northeastern region, they waste about 55,000 crores in a year. And then the establishment, the government establishment, the business or street lighting or commercial activities, there, if the base is taken at the 20 units in 2 hours, then the wastage will be something like 63,875 crores. That means just in 1 year, the northeastern region burns extra electricity worth 1,19,625 crores at a base price of 2 rupees 50 paisa per unit for the households and 3 rupees 50 paisa in the commercial rates. So you can understand, I'm just giving an example, that there's a huge power wastage because of this single time zone. Similarly, the most important is the loss of productivity. because if you have less productive hour in the daylight hours, then obviously people have less productivity. For example, every day people in the northeastern region, they lost about 2 hours 3 minutes, that is about 150 minutes per day. And then total loss in the last 70 years is colossal, 63,875 hours. Loss in productivity in 70 years, taking the input of 6 hours productivity input at the rate of 6 hours input, it works out to be in last 70 years, the productivity loss is something like 29 years, 2 months. It's alarming. If it continues, the northeastern region will be behind by 42 years in 100 years in productivity. So these are the points that basically I wanted to make. And then the single time zone is not required, because if there's a span of 30 degrees longitudinal distance from easternmost part of the northeast Indian map to the westernmost part of Japan. So obviously there's as you know, the 15 degrees roughly calculated as 1 hour. So 2 hours difference is not healthy for the socially or culturally or economically for any of the countries. Many of the scientific bodies already suggested that India should have at least 2 time zones. In 2006, the Planning Commission endorsed that India should have 2 time zones. In 2007, the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, there are scholars who published a paper saying that India must consider revising the time zone, and it should be 2 time zone, and followed by another study in 2012 by Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Bangalore, where scholars Dilip Ahuja and D.P. Sen-Gupta, they suggested that if India is unable to have 2 time zones, at least the mean longitude should be shifted to further east, and instead of 5.5 hours advance that presently we have at the mean longitude of 82.5 degree east, it should be further advanced by another half an hour. So it should be at least 6 hours plus GMT. So that was the suggestion given by Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Bangalore. And 2018, the National Physical Laboratory, Delhi, which maintains the Indian Standard Time, the CSIR and NPL sponsored studies, they suggested that India should have 2 time zones. In fact, the study suggested that there should be IST1 covering the longitude from 68.7 degree east to 89.52 degree east, covering the entire that area, must have 1 time zone of IST1, and there should be another time zone, IST2, covering the longitude from 89.52 degree east to 97.25 degree east, that covers the easternmost part of the northeastern region. So these are the scientific solutions, because the advanced countries, we all know the different countries in the world, they have multiple time zones. All other countries, mostly, whether it's US or Mexico or France or every other advanced countries have multiple time zones, we know. Take the case of Mexico. Mexico actually is located in the same longitudinal spread like India. Mexico has 2 time zones. And then take the case of Singapore. Singapore is located in further east of the northeastern region. The mean longitude of Singapore is 105 degree east. But Singapore has a single time zone, being a small country, but they have advanced their mean longitudinal for standard time by another 15 degrees, by 1 hour. Instead of 105 degree east longitude that they are located Singapore, but they have set the standardized time at the mean longitude at 120 degree east. That means they have adopted 1 hour advance standard time to make them more productive, make them more efficient. And that is the way it is. I think India must consider having at least 2 time zones to utilize a very large part of the country to be more productive. As it is, the people of the Northeast, there's a saying that Assam is a land of lahe lahe, because everything starts late, everything, because you get up early, but you do nothing. You just waste your productive hours. So it is very important to inculcate this kind of sense of proportion. And I just want to mention that before this Indian Standard Time was devised, in the Britishers, when India was under British rule, India had 2 time zones. One was Bombay time, one was Calcutta time. And then subsequently, when Assam and Northeast became the part of British India, which became a part of British India very late in 1826, but then Britishers, when they started their commercial activities or industrial activities or everything, when they started a tea industry in Assam, they had this Bagan time. Bagan time is a tea industry time. That was 1 hour advance. That was called local time. That was prevalent till about 40 years ago. So all these were devised, all these were established to harness the daylight hours, the productivity, and making people more active in day-to-day life. So that is what my prescription. And obviously, there are different people, different, pundits, they would say different things. But Assam and Northeast, especially the eastern part of the country, they would immensely benefit that if we have double time zone and harness the potential of the people of this part of the country. Thank you. I am just open for your questions.
Our heartfelt thanks to you, sir. Yeah, this has really given us and our viewers a unique perspective, sir. We will go ahead and take some time for questions now. Just a reminder, please be sure to type your questions into the chat box in your control panel. Thank you.
So there was a time when the Assam government implemented the Chai Bagan time, as you just rightly mentioned right now. So was it really helpful? And what are your views on its implementation in the current scenario?
See, yes, in the olden days, in the tea gardens, which was in the private sector mostly, and then all these were started by the Britishers. There was a local time, as I said, Chai Bagan time. That was 1 hour in advance. And that was quite productive because people, especially the pluckers, and then, those people who work in the factories or plantations, they go early and time started early. But because of then again, standardized time implementation, it was reverted to this, normal time. But in tea gardens of Assam still, there's no two timing. There's no local time or IST, but the office hours, the working hours have been slightly advanced. Maybe the pluckers, the production people would go to the factories or plantations instead of 10 o'clock like government offices, they go at 8 o'clock to harness the potential, actually, to make it more productive. But that is still confined to only private sector, especially in the tea gardens.
Thank you, sir. So we have another question. Like you also mentioned about countries like Singapore, Mexico, and we have seen like in United Kingdom, they shift their time an hour before in summer to save the daylight. So what about implementing something on similar lines in India, and what consequences, in your opinion, will follow such decisions?
See, obviously you would understand that Indian Standard Time is something, it's like a federal standardized time.
Yeah.
So it has to be amended. For example, local government, the local state government cannot unilaterally or as a block of states like Northeastern region as in the basis of regional cooperation or something, they cannot have a separate time zone. This has to be endorsed, this has to be implemented by the federal government. Actually, this has to be implemented because for example, even if we wish, we cannot have a separate time zone. And after all, the Indian Standard Time and their management has been controlled and managed federally by the National Physical Laboratory, and that is the mandate they have. So, but it is important, I think, the federal government can also consider, especially the decision makers, and then take a sensible decision to have at least 2 time zones in India.
Thank you, sir. That was really insightful. So the next question is that, as you mentioned about the hindrance in the life of people, like the disturbed sleep schedules that directly affects their mental peace, then the lack of outdoor activities that they can do, then the loss of 150 minutes, that's quite huge. So the positive outcome of it, as we all can see, is maybe that having a single time zone could be that it saves a lot of money. So do you feel that there are any positive outcomes of it, or are the negative consequences outweighing the positive ones?
I actually, if you say about positive outcome, I hardly see any positive outcome actually, because the maintenance of by making time 2 time zones is not going to incur any additional expenditure for maintenance or upkeep or 2 time zones. Only thing is that little calculations have to be made for flight schedule. You see, all these multiple time zones are implemented all other countries, as you know.
Right.
In the United States of India, in United States of America, there are 6 time zones, and various other countries 4 time zones, 3 time zones. And interestingly, many people can say that our neighbor, China has got a single time zone. But you must understand, China has shifted their mean longitude to the easternmost side so that they can derive advanced time for entire thing. But in any case, China cannot be our role model. So, but all other countries have utilized their daylight hours very effectively, very productively. And that is what is desirable in India. Even if it's late, I think we should have 2 time zones.
Thank you for that, sir. So we also have a question that, as we all know, that India's single time zone is a legacy of the British rule, but it is also thought as a symbol of unity. So what insights do you have regarding this?
See, there is some obsolete mindset thinking. If you think that there's a symbol of unity, but at what cost? At what cost actually we are maintaining that symbol of unity? Because we are losing. I have given you a few examples how we are, making losses in every sphere of activities. So if you really want India to go ahead and really develop, especially the eastern part of India, especially the northeastern region. It makes a lot of sense to have time zones. I don't see any positive outcome actually. I can see, of course, the western side of it, people, as I showed you, that there's very, but at the same time, there are very interesting studies also have come out. Because recently I read an article by a scholar called Maulik Jagnani, the Cornell University scholar. He published a paper. He said that back to back. I just quote: back of the envelope estimate suggests that India incurs annual human capital costs of roughly $4.1 billion. That's nearly 30,000 crores, or 0.2% of the nominal GDP, gross domestic product, due to the existing policy regulating time zone boundaries. You see, that was his study. And interestingly, that same article says that while, that when we draw the line in the longitudinal line at 82.5 degree east, and that is it actually runs through Mirzapur and near the Allahabad of UP, and western side of that mean longitude of all the states that I have named, including Gujarat or Rajasthan or Haryana, they've all benefited. But at the same time, this is very interesting, says that in all these areas in western side, when this scholar says that he says that sleep deprivation due to later sunset could amount to 30 minutes in the western part of the country. This implies that when sunsets are late and daylight is more, people will experience sleep deprivation. And that same scholar goes on to say, when the sun sets later, children go to bed later. By contrast, wake-up times are not regulated by solar cues. Sleep-deprived students decrease study effort, consistent with a model where sleep is productivity enhancing and increases the marginal returns of efforts. Sleep makes study effort more productive, but as later sunset reduces sleep duration, it makes studying less effective, decreasing children's study time. This is also another very interesting facet of the late hours of western part of the country. So I think we should be very judicious. We should be sensible, and we should base our decision on the basis of scientific temperament and empirical evidence. And this is what I am trying to say, that we, India, for better utilization of our resources, better utilization of our human capital, we must have 2 time zones.
Thank you, sir. So as you mentioned about having 2 time zones, then in a country like India, where people don't really accept changes so easily and they react in a really different and an unpredictable way in each situation. So what do you think will be the consequences of such changes, and that too such major changes like having 2 time zones?
2 time zones is necessary, and people will understand, especially in the eastern part of the country, in the northeastern region, because there has been a very consistent demand from the northeastern region, because there has been a lot of wastage in every sphere. So if you have a separate time zone covering the northeastern region, at least people of the northeast will understand, they would implement, and they would be very receptive. But otherwise also, you see, a very sarcastic remark was made that, the political decision makers, the bureaucracy, the people who really matter in pan-Indian basis, they mostly reside in the western side of the mean longitude. That was very sarcastic, but they probably couldn't care less about the single time zone. I mean, that devastating effect that it has in the other part of the country, especially in the eastern part. But people have to understand in totality. And of course, we have to make examples if we can articulate all these points and all these concerns and the scientific temperament. People will understand and take it. And there will not be any difficulty in even implementing the flight schedule or other activities, because in USA, as you know, as you travel from East Coast to West Coast, you have to adjust your time. Everybody does it. So people will get used to it. There will not be difficulty, actually.
And so, what are the changes that we expect in the near future?
Changes of what, really? I didn't get it.
Like, sir, like in the near future, like once your government raises this in the federal government to the federal government, to split the time zones, to have 2 time zones. If in the near future, what else do you see towards this movement?
See, I just want to give you, as a member of parliament, Lok Sabha, I introduced a private members bill in 2020, pleading for dual time zone for the country. It was admitted because after all, it's a private members bill. It was not sponsored by the ruling party, or it was not taken up as an official business, but it was admitted. But no discussion took place so far. People have to be serious. People have to see everything in totality. This is what I actually I plead, that the decision makers have to. People should not be guided by this make-believe notion that, if you have 2 time zones and 1 separate time zone from the northeastern region, it would foster secession regime. This is all outdated, obsolete concept. But you must, I mentioned about manifestation of centrifugal tendency. If in the periphery of Indian map, if you see that, all these states, whether it's Jammu and Kashmir or Punjab or the states of the Northeast, for one point or another, the people in these areas always had some activities trying to secede from the country, though it was not successful, but then these tendencies will be actually can be managed, and then people will be more productive. And it is very important that the states in the periphery should come up and develop at par with the core. This is very important. That is why the policymakers, the people who make, there should be a political wisdom and also a scientific temperament in deciding all these decisions. Because if any wrong decision was taken at the time of independence, that can also be undone. That can also be corrected. A course can be always corrected, and that can enhance its productivity, and then utilize more resources in a productive manner. Why not? By doing this, India will go faster. This is what I want to say.
So, like you said, that India would go faster in this. There were some counterpoints to the thing that if we have 2 time zones, like in countries like you mentioned USA, we have different time zones. There was a study regarding USA and Canada that the railway accidents have increased when they split their time. When they save for the daylight and 1 hour decreases, they have had railway accidents. There were reports that there was an 8% increase in midnight strokes that people get, and due to that, there were deaths more. So do we have any counter? What are your views on that?
See, I disagree with this point of view. Probably there could be an isolated instance of mismanagement, but in today's today's time, all these can be easily managed. Thousands of flights are going from East Coast to West Coast, from West Coast to East Coast in USA. Trains are going. If there's a microscopic, very small fraction of accidents have taken place, not because of this time management. I think in today's time, digital technology and digital management of everything, I don't think this could be a problem. And the USA or other countries have been managing this multiple time zones very effectively, very efficiently for for many decades, if not century. So that cannot be a reason for not having a scientific basis of dual time zone in India.
Thank you, sir.
Good.
Yeah. Sir, you really helped us widen our vision. We feel extremely honored to have hosted you today. We also have with us our teacher in charge, Dr. Alok Kumar. We would be glad to hear from you, sir.
Thank you, Manya. And thank you, Mr. Pradyut. Definitely, you have given us a different dimension to think about time and time zone. I have never heard that this may be a topic of discussion. Okay, so whatever you presented today, I from the minute 1 to minute last, you talked like an academician. So salute you, sir. We need more parliamentarians like you in this Indian politics. And definitely, apart from the topic which you discussed, students will definitely get encouraged the way the Indian politicians are putting their points about a single, you may say, topic like time zone. So I was never thinking that there may be a dimension like this time zone, and definitely I will also study on this particular topic, and I also request the students to think about this particular thing, that because as you presented that we are losing that much of minutes, that much of hours, so definitely lost time can never be found again. And if with the use of technology and with the new, you may say, new thinking, we may split the time zone into 2 or 3 as per requirement, and it may be advantageous for the country. Then it will be a great thing to be done. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much to be here and present and to present a different dimension of time and time zone. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was my pleasure, really. Thank you,
sir.
Thank you for your insight, sir. We thank you from the bottom of our heart for sparing some time from your busy schedule for all of us. We at SRCC are looking forward to having many more great sessions with you in times to come. Our heartfelt gratitude to each